Have you ever walked into a room and felt the urge to explain yourself, to tell your story, to prove your worth, to share every detail of your life as if it validates your presence? We live in a world that encourages us to be open, to be vulnerable, to be an open book. But what if I told you that not every page needs to be read by everyone? People are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand. When something is slightly out of reach, it becomes more intriguing. This is why mystery holds power. It creates value. The moment we reveal everything about ourselves, we strip away the curiosity that makes us interesting. Mystery isn't about deception. It's about being intentional with what we share and when we share it. Think about the most captivating individuals in history. They weren't the ones who constantly broadcasted every thought, feeling, or detail of their lives. Instead, they shared strategically, leaving just enough room for people to wonder, to lean in, and to want more. The human brain craves completion. When we don't have all the pieces, we fill in the blanks with admiration, interest, and intrigue. But when everything is laid bare, the illusion disappears, and with it, the perceived value. Consider the world of marketing and branding. Luxury brands rarely advertise the way mass market brands do. They don't flood every possible channel with excessive information. Instead, they carefully curate their message, making people want to seek them out rather than handing over every detail up front. This principle applies to human interaction as well. When you are selective about what you share, you elevate your presence. You become someone worth knowing rather than someone desperately seeking attention. Social media has conditioned us to believe that constant sharing equals connection. But in reality, oversharing can have the opposite effect. The more predictable you become, the less people pay attention. Imagine a magician who reveals every trick before the performance. The excitement fades, and what was once awe-inspiring becomes ordinary. The same concept applies to human relationships, whether personal, professional, or social. A person who shares every thought, struggle, and success immediately loses the air of intrigue that makes them memorable. Mystery also creates respect. When you don't reveal everything, people assume there is more to you. This assumption builds a sense of depth and credibility. In contrast, when someone speaks excessively about themselves, their struggles, or their accomplishments, it often diminishes their influence. Their presence becomes noise rather than impact. The most respected leaders, thinkers, and visionaries understand the importance of restraint. They don't speak just to fill the silence. They speak when their words matter. In relationships, both personal and professional, mystery fosters attraction. It keeps people engaged, wanting to learn more. When someone is too available, too predictable, or too open from the start, the excitement of discovery disappears. We see this dynamic in friendships, dating, and even business. The moment someone believes they have fully figured you out, the chase is over. The best connections are built on a gradual unveiling of depth, not an immediate download of every detail. Maintaining an air of mystery doesn't mean being distant or inauthentic. It means being thoughtful about what you reveal and when. It means understanding that not every person deserves immediate access to your thoughts, emotions, and history. By holding back, you create a sense of exclusivity. People appreciate what is earned, not what is given freely. Moreover, mystery gives you control over your narrative. If you constantly share, you allow others to define you based on their perception of your words. But when you hold back, you retain power over how you are seen. You dictate the pace at which people understand you, ensuring that your value is not taken for granted. In a world that constantly demands transparency, remember that mystery is a form of strength. It protects your energy, safeguards your influence, and ensures that people see you as someone worth paying attention to. Don't reveal everything at once. Let people wonder, let them earn access, and watch how much more they value your presence. Not everyone who enters your life deserves access to your thoughts, emotions, or personal struggles. We often feel an obligation to explain ourselves, to share our stories, and to open up to anyone who asks. But the truth is, not everyone has earned the right to know you on a deeper level. Access to your inner world should be a privilege, not a given. In life, we meet many people, some who uplift us, some who challenge us, and some who simply take from us without offering anything in return. The mistake we often make is assuming that all relationships are equal, that everyone deserves the same level of openness. But just as you wouldn't give a stranger the key to your home, you shouldn't hand over the key to your mind, heart, and energy without consideration. Personal information, vulnerabilities, and dreams are valuable. When you share them with the wrong people, you risk being misunderstood, judged, or even manipulated. Some people listen not to support, but to gather information. They take what you share and use it for their own advantage, whether it's through gossip, control, or competition. The more people know about you, the more opportunities they have to influence your decisions, sometimes in ways that don't serve you. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away, it's about protecting your peace. And when you're selective about who gets access to your emotions and personal experiences, you ensure that your energy isn't wasted on those who don't appreciate it. Trust should be built over time, through actions rather than words. Just because someone is friendly or interested in your life doesn't mean they should be granted entry into your most personal thoughts. Think about the most influential and respected individuals. They don't share everything with everyone. They understand the value of discretion. They choose their confidants wisely, ensuring that those they open up to are people who genuinely care for them, who have proven their loyalty, and who add value to their lives. The same principle applies to you. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Not everyone who listens to your struggles is rooting for your success. Some are simply collecting details, waiting for the right moment to use them. There's also an emotional cost to being too open with too many people. The more you share, the more opinions you invite. Everyone has advice, but not all advice is helpful. When too many voices enter your mind, it becomes harder to hear your own. You start doubting yourself, questioning your path, and making decisions based on external validation rather than internal clarity. By limiting access, you filter out unnecessary noise and keep your focus on what truly matters. The reality is that some people only value you when you're struggling. They thrive on knowing your weaknesses because it makes them feel stronger. Others enjoy the drama of your life but have no real interest in helping you grow. This is why discernment is crucial. You must be able to differentiate between those who uplift you and those who simply enjoy having access to your personal story. Being selective about who you open up to doesn't make you closed off or unapproachable. It makes you wise. It means you respect yourself enough to protect your peace, your emotions, and your personal journey. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries. You don't have to justify why you choose to keep certain aspects of your life private. Those who truly respect you will understand, and those who don't were never meant to have access in the first place. The strongest relationships are built on mutual trust, earned over time. If someone is meant to know your struggles, your dreams, and your true self, they will prove it through their consistency, their support, and their actions. Until then, guard your energy, protect your space, and remember that not everyone deserves access to the most valuable parts of you. Influence is built on perception, trust, and the ability to inspire or guide others. But one of the fastest ways to weaken your influence is by oversharing. In a world that encourages constant openness, we are led to believe that sharing every detail of our lives makes us more relatable, more authentic, and more trustworthy. However, the opposite is often true. When you share too much too often, you dilute your message, weaken your presence, and ultimately reduce the respect people have for you. The most influential people understand the power of restraint. They don't feel the need to broadcast every thought, struggle, or success to the world. Instead, they choose their words carefully, sharing only what adds value, strengthens their credibility, or serves a purpose. When you overshare, you risk making your presence feel ordinary rather than impactful. People stop listening because they feel they already know everything about you. Oversharing also makes it harder for people to take you seriously. If a leader, mentor, or professional constantly talks about their personal struggles, their self-doubt, or their insecurities without a filter, their authority diminishes. It's not that vulnerability is bad. On the contrary, vulnerability can be powerful when shared intentionally. But when it becomes excessive, it shifts from being inspiring to being overwhelming. Instead of seeing you as a strong, capable individual, people begin to see you as someone who lacks self-control and confidence. Another danger of oversharing is that it makes you more susceptible to criticism, judgment, and manipulation. The more people know about your weaknesses, personal struggles, or even your plans, the more they have to use against you. Not everyone listening has your best interest at heart. Some people gather information not to support you, but to undermine you. The more you expose yourself, the more vulnerable you become, not in a way that builds connection, but in a way that invites unnecessary problems. Consider the impact of oversharing in professional settings. If a leader constantly shares their uncertainties about a project, their personal financial struggles, or their frustrations with the team, their employees begin to question their capability. The same applies to entrepreneurs, creators, and public figures. If you reveal too much too soon, you create doubts in the minds of others. Instead of being seen as a leader, you become someone who needs validation and reassurance. Even in personal relationships, oversharing can be detrimental. When you share everything with everyone, you make it difficult for people to truly appreciate your presence. The excitement of discovery disappears. Imagine meeting someone who, within minutes, tells you their entire life story. The struggles, the drama, the emotional highs and lows. It may feel like connection at first, but over time, it becomes exhausting. People appreciate relationships that unfold naturally, where trust and deeper conversations develop over time, not all at once. There's also the issue of credibility. If you are constantly sharing every setback, every frustration, and every minor inconvenience, people may start to see you as someone who dwells on problems rather than solving them. Leaders, professionals, and even friends respect those who can navigate their challenges without making every issue a public spectacle. The ability to process difficulties privately and share only what is necessary makes you appear stronger and more composed. Being selective with your words and your personal disclosures isn't about being secretive. It's about being strategic. It's about understanding that influence is built not by how much you say, but by the weight of what you say. People listen to those who speak with purpose. When every detail of your life is shared freely, your words lose their power. But when you share with intention, people pay attention. If you want to maintain influence, resist the urge to overshare. Speak when it adds value, share experiences that inspire, teach, or strengthen relationships. Hold back when it serves no purpose other than to fill silence or seek validation. The less you say, the more impact your words will have. Trust is not built overnight, nor is it given freely. It is earned through consistency, reliability, and discretion. One of the most effective ways to build trust is through controlled exposure, revealing just enough about yourself to foster connection while maintaining boundaries that protect your credibility and influence. When people receive information gradually, they are more likely to respect and value what is shared. On the other hand, when too much is revealed too quickly, it can create doubt, overwhelm, or even diminish trust altogether. Control exposure allows people to see who you are over time, rather than being flooded with personal details all at once. When we meet someone new, whether in a personal or professional setting, our instinct may be to connect by opening up. However, trust is not built by oversharing. It is built through a gradual process of earned confidence. When we are selective about what we reveal, we allow others to invest in getting to know us at a steady, natural pace. Imagine a leader who shares every fear, uncertainty, or challenge with their team. While vulnerability can be a strength, excessive openness can create doubt. A leader who carefully shares select challenges while maintaining composure and confidence earns more respect than one who constantly offloads personal concerns onto others. People trust those who appear in control of themselves, their emotions, and their personal information. In relationships, both personal and professional, controlled exposure helps establish deeper bonds without risking trust. When someone reveals everything too soon, it can feel forced, overwhelming, or even insincere. On the other hand, when details are shared intentionally over time, it creates a sense of authenticity and stability. Trust grows not because someone shares everything, but because they share the right things at the right moments. The concept of controlled exposure also applies to credibility. Those who speak with restraint and intention are often perceived as more trustworthy than those who reveal too much too soon. Think about the difference between someone who carefully chooses their words versus someone who constantly shares every detail of their thoughts and emotions. The person who exercises discretion is often seen as more reliable and composed. Another important aspect of controlled exposure is the ability to gauge the trustworthiness of others before revealing too much. Not everyone deserves immediate access to your personal struggles, dreams, or setbacks. By controlling how much you expose, you give yourself the time to observe whether the other person is genuinely supportive or simply curious. This practice not only protects your personal information, but also ensures that you are surrounded by people who truly value and respect you. One of the key reasons controlled exposure builds trust is that it demonstrates emotional intelligence. When someone knows what to share, when to share, and with whom, it shows a level of self-awareness and discipline. People are drawn to those who understand the balance between openness and restraint. A person who reveals too much can come across as desperate for validation, while someone who shares thoughtfully appears strong and secure. In professional settings, controlled exposure enhances leadership and influence. A leader who reveals too much personal information may seem unstable, while one who shares carefully selected insights can inspire confidence. The same applies to entrepreneurs, public figures, and professionals. Those who manage their narratives effectively are more likely to be trusted and respected. Ultimately, trust is not about how much we share, but about how intentionally we share. It is about creating a sense of reliability and consistency where people know that what you say matters. When you control your exposure, you retain your power, protect your personal boundaries, and ensure that the trust you build is genuine and lasting. Those who understand the value of gradual disclosure will always be seen as more trustworthy, reliable, and influential. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that rewards those who speak the loudest, many people fail to recognize the power of saying nothing. Silence is not weakness. It is a strategy. It is a tool used by the most influential and respected individuals to maintain control, command respect, and navigate situations with clarity. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is one of the greatest skills you can develop, both in personal and professional life. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to create presence. When someone talks excessively, their words begin to lose weight, but when a person speaks only when necessary, people listen. Their words carry more significance because they are not wasted. Silence forces others to pay attention, to lean in, to wonder what you are thinking. It creates intrigue, making your presence more valuable. Silence is also a tool for observation. When you choose to listen instead of speak, you gain access to valuable information. People reveal more than they realize when they fill the silence. In negotiations, for example, silence can make the other party uncomfortable, leading them to reveal their true position. In conversations, silence allows you to read between the lines, to understand what is really being said beyond the words. Those who know how to use silence strategically often gain the upper hand because they see what others miss. Another reason silence is so powerful is that it prevents unnecessary conflict. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every opinion needs to be voiced. Many people damage their reputations simply by speaking without thinking. They react emotionally, say things they later regret, or engage in arguments that serve no purpose. But those who master silence understand that not every situation requires a response. Sometimes the best way to maintain respect is to say nothing at all. Silence is also an incredible tool for self-control. When emotions run high, the first instinct is often to react immediately. But reacting impulsively can lead to poor decisions and unnecessary complications. By remaining silent, even for a few moments, you give yourself the space to process your thoughts, evaluate the situation, and respond in a way that serves you best. This level of discipline not only prevents mistakes, but also earns respect from those around you. In leadership, silence is an essential skill. The best leaders do not feel the need to fill every moment with words. Instead, they listen, observe, and speak only when their words will have an impact. They understand that silence creates authority. When a leader speaks less but says more, their presence is felt and their influence is stronger. On the other hand, those who talk excessively often lose credibility. Silence is also a form of setting boundaries. It teaches others that you will not always respond, that you are not easily manipulated, and that your energy is valuable. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary drama, gossip, or meaningless discussions, you communicate self-respect. People learn that if they want your attention, they must bring value to the conversation. One of the greatest strengths of silence is that it gives you control over your own narrative. When you speak less, you give people less to misunderstand, misinterpret, or twist against you. The more you reveal, the more opportunities others have to misjudge you. But when you keep certain things to yourself, you maintain power over how you are perceived. Ultimately, silence is not about withholding, but about using your voice wisely. It is about choosing when to engage and when to let things pass. It is about knowing that sometimes the most powerful statement is the one left unsaid. Those who master the art of silence navigate life with greater ease, command more respect, and hold a level of influence that cannot be ignored. Personal power is not about control over others. It is about control over yourself, your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being. The foundation of this power lies in boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define what is acceptable and what is not, what you allow into your life and what you keep out. They protect your mental and emotional health, strengthen your relationships, and ensure that you remain in charge of your own narrative. Without them, you become vulnerable to manipulation, exhaustion, and a loss of self-respect. One of the strongest indicators of personal power is the ability to say no. Many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others or being perceived as selfish. But in reality, saying no is one of the most important ways to protect your energy. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that could empower you. People who lack boundaries often find themselves overwhelmed, constantly trying to meet the expectations of others while neglecting their own needs. But those who set clear limits gain control over their time and choices, ensuring that they prioritize what truly matters. Boundaries also determine how people treat you. The way you allow others to interact with you sends a message about what you will and will not tolerate. If you accept disrespect, inconsistency, or emotional drain from those around you, they will continue to test those limits. But when you establish and enforce boundaries, you teach people to respect you. Those who value you will adjust. Those who don't will drift away, leaving room for healthier connections. In professional life, boundaries are essential for maintaining credibility and influence. Many people believe that saying yes to every opportunity, staying available at all times, and always being agreeable will help them advance. However, the most successful individuals understand that personal power comes from knowing their worth and setting clear professional boundaries. They do not allow work to consume their entire identity, nor do they tolerate being undervalued. They protect their time, ensuring that their efforts are respected and compensated appropriately. Emotional boundaries are just as important as physical ones. Not everyone deserves access to your deepest thoughts, feelings, or struggles. Oversharing can make you more vulnerable to judgment, gossip, or manipulation. When you control what you share and with whom, you maintain power over your own story. Not every person is a safe space, and recognizing this allows you to protect your emotional well-being. Boundaries are not just about keeping things out, they are also about letting the right things in. When you establish healthy boundaries, you create space for personal growth, meaningful relationships, and greater fulfillment. You attract people who respect your values, who uplift rather than drain you. Instead of feeling resentful and exhausted from constantly pleasing others, you gain clarity and confidence in your decisions. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they push people away. In reality, they strengthen relationships. When you set clear boundaries, you create transparency. People know where they stand with you, which removes confusion and frustration. Healthy relationships, whether personal, professional, or social, are built on mutual understanding, and boundaries are the foundation of that understanding. Ultimately, personal power is about self-respect. It is about valuing your time, your energy, and your emotional space enough to protect them. It is not your job to accommodate everyone at the expense of your own well-being. When you enforce boundaries, you reinforce your self-worth. You teach people that you will not be taken for granted. You gain confidence, clarity, and a sense of control over your life. The strongest people are not those who do everything for everyone. They are the ones who know when to say no, when to walk away, and when to stand firm. They understand that personal power lies not in pleasing others, but in honoring themselves. Boundaries are not barriers. They are the foundation of strength, self-respect, and true personal freedom.